I'm going to show you a 3-card tarot reading. This is a reading I like to call the reading of gifts, and this is the reading that I do when I'm hired to read tarot at events and parties. I've been reading tarot for over 15 years now, and I want to show you a kind of thinking out loud reading where I walk you through what I'm thinking about, what I'm seeing, and how I assemble my impressions into a reading. This is not a reading for you. It's not a reading for me. So it's going to be a little bit different because there's no one in front of me to build the connection with. But I want to show you the nuts and bolts of what goes into gathering all of the information that comes in with a reading and turning that into an interpretation. I generally see tarot as something to be done in person with physical cards between two people or a small group. I am not as interested in doing readings for the collective or astrological signs or telling you that this reading is for you, even though you're not here in front of me. I think there can be some value in those types of readings, but I don't want to be a source of you getting a reading here on YouTube. I want to show you how you can do this for yourself. And the best way to show you is to just do my thing and think out loud and explain in as much detail as is appropriate what I'm seeing, what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling as the cards are coming up. So let's jump right in. I would have the querent, the person that I'm doing the reading for, I would have them shuffle and then choose the first card. And in the reading of gifts, the first card represents the focal point. This is an aspect of their life that demands the most attention right now. We've all got a lot going on all the time, but tarot is a great way of bringing into focus what's important in the moment, because the moment of doing the reading is perfectly unique. The result of shuffling the cards will only exist in that moment and will never be repeated. So what tarot can be is a kind of existential photograph of like, here's where you're at, here are the energies that are in play right now for you, and a gift that you're being invited to give and a gift you're being invited to receive. And the gifts are needed to be given and to be received in order to resolve any energy in the center card that is out of alignment. We're bringing it into alignment. So we start with the focal point, which in this case is the Knight of Wands. So Wands is the suit of fire. It's the suit of creativity. It's all about what it means to make your dreams come true. If you have a vision or an idea of something you want to make real, whether it's a project or an experience or a lifestyle or a moment, this life vision, and then you make it real, that act of turning the dream into reality, symbolically you're using your wand. Think of the wand like this white line down the center of your spine, and it radiates your will and your vision out like an antenna. And the world responds to the signal that you're broadcasting and bounces back with the content of your life. So the whole journey in the suit of wands is all about how to use this power, how to master this power, and how it works. Think of each of the minor arcana suits as maps along a journey of mastery. So you start from a very pure source of the energy almost before it reaches human hands. That's the ace. And then you arrive at 10, which is the full culmination of the energy's potential in human affairs. And then you have page, knight, queen, and king. These are the royalty, the court cards, and these represent different kinds of individual mastery with that suit. So these are personalities and approaches that represent a quality of identity that captures the energy of their suit and enacts that power in their own unique way. So knights carry the energy of their suit with this very forceful, passionate, raw, inventive energy, where the knight doesn't care about the rules. They don't care about authority. They need everybody to get out of their way so that they can stay true to their dreams. The Knight of Wands is willing to risk it all for the sake of their creative ambitions. They're willing to break all of the rules of what's been known in the art world, in the creative world, in the lifestyle world. They have a singular vision and almost unprecedented. They refuse to be a follower, and they hold their vision and carry its standard as its champion out into the arena of living. So a Knight of Wands is someone who says, I know exactly what's true for me and how to live and what to create, and you all better get out of my way because I'm not taking no for an answer. They're all about high risk, high reward, jumping into the fray and not afraid to make a mess, not afraid to break the rules. So a bit of iconoclasm, wanting to tear down restrictive systems for the sake of freedom. So a Knight of Wands would be like an artist who starts a brand new art movement, or a poet who discards all of the structure of poetry and just expresses themselves straight from the soul. So to draw Knight of Wands in the central focal point position is to say, for this person I would be reading for, they're someone who's trying to get back in touch with this aspect of themselves. Knights usually show up when we're in a place of stagnation and sleepwalking through life and following well-worn paths and repeating ourselves, going along with the crowd, going along with the systems and the structures, and settling into a nice cozy rut. And the Knight of Wands is this encouragement to break out of the rut and seize the vision of their soul and be uncompromising in their pursuit of that vision. So to draw a Knight of Wands is to say, hey, do you remember your Knight of Wands self? Do you remember how to follow your dreams to the point where you're willing to risk it all for the sake of those dreams with no thought of failure, and to just follow the passion wherever it may lead you without much planning or preparation, just a total trust in the yearning of the soul? And usually a Knight of Wands shows up in the center position when we've lost track of that, and we need to light that inner fire again. And that fire will drive us to break through to a new level of creative output, a new level of creative risk taking, breaking out of that rut and just going for it. So to draw a Knight of Wands in the center is to say, we want to get you back in touch with this aspect of yourself. You want to get back on the horse and start carrying that wand to make your creative dreams come true. And what's it going to take in order to achieve that? And that is supported by the gifts to receive and the gifts to give. So in this case, for example, a gifts to receive being the sun. So the sun is a major arcana. So major arcana, they're like the vowels or the prime numbers of tarot. They follow their own special rules, and they represent the pillars that hold up the human experience itself. It's all of the big stuff of what makes up a human lifetime. And the sun represents everything that is joyful and positive about being alive. It's the good life. It's everything that we show up for. You can imagine that there's this kind of cosmic bargain where you wake up as an angel in heaven and you look down at this physical world with physical beings living in time and space, and you say, well, that looks awful. There's so much pain and cruelty and violence and misunderstanding and filth and mess, and I'd rather stay in this realm where there is no time and space. Everything is just perfect in all directions forever. But there's aspects of being alive, of being a human being on planet Earth, that are so worthwhile. Love, joy, happiness, connection, fun, everything that makes life worth living, what makes it worth all of the pain and the heartbreak that is inevitable in a human lifetime. We endure all of those things for the sake of everything that the sun represents. What it means to be truly alive, what it means to abide in joy, love, and truth. And it's the source of all these things, the source of life itself. And it's the most positive card that you can draw in the tarot. It represents the concept of positivity itself. And to receive the Sun, to support the Knight of Wands, it's that what I see here is someone who is maybe on a creative path, trying to make their dream life, trying to make their dreams come true, but they've gotten lost in the steps and the systems and the structure and the advice. There's consuming a lot of content on how to arrange their lives for the kind of success that they're looking for, and they're studying and planning and preparing, and it's all taken very seriously in a sense of, I have to work hard, I have to hustle, I have to deprive myself and push myself in order to have this dream life. And it's, the Sun is saying, we're missing the joy. You've lost a kind of zest for life, a kind of joie de vivre that is the essential fuel for your creative dreams. So a Knight of Wands needs to have passion, and passion has to be a source of something that you stand for. Maybe the person who this reading is for, they're focused on what they're against and what they want to solve or heal or dismantle or break down, breaking down oppressive structures, but they haven't fully articulated the kind of life that they want. They know what they don't want, but they're missing the source of joy, the source of positivity and happiness. So for this person that we're reading for, it's that the passion that comes with the Knight of Wands, the single-minded pursuit of our dreams, needs the fire of joy and positivity behind it. If it's all about, how am I going to make enough money doing what I love? Let me break down the tax structures and the business models and the funnels and the optimizations. No, it's about, what is the magical, joyful gift that you're here to give that lights other people up, showing people how much you care about what you have to give. Because what you have to give comes from this all-pervading source of joy and positivity. You're so excited about this gift that you yearn to share it with the world, even regardless of whether it'll help you make a living or if anything will come of it. So to draw the Sun as the gift to receive is to say, maybe you've lost track of your inner Knight of Wands because you've lost track of the joy. And you need to let the world give you all of this positivity and experience. This is maybe someone who's closed themselves off from all the sources of joy in their life. If this were on the giving side, then it would be about infusing that joy into the results of their work, creating joy in the world. But on the receiving side, this is someone who is depriving themselves. They've cut off a lot of the sources of joy and positivity in their life, and they need to reopen those faucets that let that goodness into their lives. This is someone who is probably avoiding connecting with the people they care about. They're flaking out on invitations to fun experiences. Someone says, hey, let's go have a picnic in the park, or let's go to a party, let's go to a show. And they say, no, I have to stay in because I have to solve some problem. I have to hustle, I have to work hard. And the balancing act has tipped too far into the deprivation and the hustle. And you need the raw energy of positivity to balance the equation, because we do have to work hard as a Knight of Wands and put in the long hours. But if you don't have a source of joy in your life, or enough of a source of joy in your life, you're not going to have any fuel to draw from. So you got to go out, you got to have fun, you got to accept the invitation to joy and fun and magic and positivity that is being offered to you. Usually tarot has a way of pointing the way towards things that are present in our lives, but we haven't pointed our attention enough at it. So this is someone who has a lot of opportunities that are at their doorstep to welcome in this kind of joy and positivity, but they haven't said yes to the invitation. So a big part of the message here is let that invitation in and say yes. So the remaining card is the remaining part of the equation, which is to say, what is the gift you're being invited to give? We're letting in the energy of the sun, but we want to get out some gift that is held within the querent. And the more they give it, the more they step into this role of the Knight of Wands. And for this person, that would be the Three of Swords. So swords is the suit of the mind. And the mind is like a sword in that it cuts the world into pieces. The world is one big, whole, perfect thing all on its own. Things are only separate in our minds. We give things labels that draws boundaries around them. And the labels feel real because they help us navigate the world and make sense of it. But the truth is beyond words, the truth of the interconnectedness of all things and the mysteries beyond our understandings. So the sword creates manageable shortcuts to allow for symbols and systems that point towards the truth, but the words are not the truth themselves. It's actually, you could say, a violent act to use a word to reduce the essence of something, because the essence of that thing is beyond words. So the suit of swords contains a lot of negative imagery because the sword is a useful tool, but it's also a dangerous weapon when we use this reduction that words inherently create. And especially when we do it to ourselves, we tell a story about who we are and what we're doing. And that story is never complete. It's never sufficient for explaining away the real truth. So words are a useful tool to keep in your belt, but you have to understand that it's never the complete picture. And if you rely too much on the words, then they'll eventually fail you. The story will wear out. And later cards in the suit of swords are all about this story breaking down and showing that the mind is meant to grow as a story to keep us safe, to keep us moving through the world. And then that story wears out and it has to break down and a new story has to be formed. There's a very cyclical nature to the suit of swords. We grow a mind, that mind wears out, and it becomes no longer true. And then we grow a new mind with new definitions and understandings of ourself and of life in the world. So Three of Swords. Three of Swords is this moment where the mind has become powerful enough to overtake the heart. And you can see this kind of war between the heart and the mind being depicted in the Three of Swords. You can almost imagine that the heart wants something so badly and the mind says you can't have it and shuts down the heart. And this is a valuable moment in the journey of the mind and the heart, because what it does is you feel your heart and your mind at odds, and then you feel a kind of distance where you are not your heart and you are not your mind. These are two things that you have. There's a third part of you, or a fourth part of you. You have the body, you have the heart, you have the mind, and the spirit. And wands represent the spirit, and swords represent the mind, cups represent the heart. But the heart shows up quite literally in this imagery. So as to say, here they are, the mind and the heart, fighting it out. Because the heart is something you listen to, and the mind is something you listen to. And you can take their advice, it can get you in trouble, it can lead you down a beautiful path. But it's almost like an angel and a devil on your shoulder. These are two advisors that you are the one who decides who to listen to. You are not your heart, you are not your mind. And when you notice the heart and mind in opposition, it makes the picture that much clearer, because you can see them fighting it out. And you're like, wow, there they go. But that's not, you see that that's not you. These are two elements that are in your being, but they are not your being. So what does it mean to give the Three of Swords? In this case, I would say a Knight of Wands is someone who isn't afraid to express the messiest parts of themselves. It's someone whose output is very raw and unflinching in the face of difficult subjects, difficult themes, and difficult elements. So when life brings tragedy and heartache and this conflict between our heart's desire and our mind that's trying to keep us safe. To give the Three of Swords is to have output as a creative being that tells the truth about what's happening here. So all of the inner conflict within you, we need to get it out. And we can do that in a creative way. You can tell a story about characters that represent your heart and your mind, and put those characters into a world of conflict and resolve that conflict through the action of the story. You could write a song that is a poem to invoke the energy of this storm within you. Basically, there is a storm inside of this person, and they've been afraid to express the nature of that storm. And the more they express it, the more they tell the truth in a safe way that, well, safety isn't much of the concern of the Knight of Wands. So I think for this reading, there's an element of holding back. This person's been holding back on their story. They've been holding back on telling the truth about this storm within them. And the more they are brave to get the truth out, the more they step into this role of Knight of Wands. Because the Knight of Wands isn't afraid to tell the truth about love and about grief and about pain and conflict. So letting it out, getting it out in some form. It doesn't have to be a poem or a song or a story, but it has to be a sincere creative expression that carries the energy of the inner turmoil that you've been afraid to share. So the more we let out the story of the inner storm, and it makes room for the positivity. It's almost like the sun, they play off of each other. The sun is pushing its love and positivity into us, and in order to make room, we have to push out all of the grief and heartache. And so they play into each other. The more you let in the positivity, the more you're able to open up about the grief and the conflict. And the more you open up about the grief and the conflict, the more room for positivity you open up. So I always draw a major arcana only from the Circle of Doors deck to give a overall theme that is at work in the reading. Like, what is this really about? Like, there's a kind of mundane details about having more fun and more positivity and getting out this story of the storm within. But I think there's always room to talk about something larger, and that's the Fool. So the Fool is a very special card because it's a major arcana, but it ultimately lives outside of the structure of the tarot entirely. It's the eternal exception. There's a lot of structure and systems and symbols in the tarot that fit in these nice little cubbies. But the Fool is the one where you try to put it in a container and it always jumps out. It cannot be contained. It cannot be systematized. It's the eternal exception. It's the eternal rounding error that makes it so it'll never be complete. Because if the tarot were complete and fixed, then it would be static. And the Fool is that kinetic energy of the what if something else entirely. Like the rest of the tarot thinks it's solved some symbol structure, but then the Fool injects that what if that breaks it all down again and keeps the compost churning. So that's the power of zero symbolically. It represents nothingness and infinity at the same time. So the Fool carries those qualities where the Fool can hear all of the stories, all of the advice, but then allows for the ultimate freedom, the freedom to surrender and the freedom to choose and to just go with the mystery, go with the flow and not worry too much. The Fool is this ultimate trust that the universe has our back. And no matter what happens, we can fully surrender our sense of needing to control and needing a sense of safety. The Fool's secret is he knows that it's already been won. You can't lose this game. You're always safe. You're always connected to the whole. So this is always an opportunity to play. because nothing ultimately serious is happening. All of the pieces go back into the same box at the end of the game. All of the heroes and villains take off their costumes and go back to a single wholeness. So the fool knows this, and that gives them permission to appear foolish, to be playful, and to just indulge in what life has to offer without an agenda, without goals, and just pure play in the eternal moment of now. So it plays well with the positivity of the sun and the fearlessness of the Knight of Wands. This person is being invited to remember that they have permission to enjoy themselves. They have permission to play. They have permission to surrender into the richness that life is trying to offer in every single moment. And the more we get out this serious story of inner turmoil, and the more we keep the fool as our kind of North Star, it gives us the bravery that allows us to choose a radical self-expression, and it opens up all of the positivity. So in summation, this reading is to say, you have a Knight of Wands within you that wants to be fearless in its creativity, be fearless in the pursuit of the most beautiful life that you can imagine. But that Knight of Wands is being held back because that knight has forgotten the power of the sun, the source of joy in their lives that's knocking on the door, and they've refused to answer because they think they don't deserve it, or they think it's not practical to their ends. But the more you let in the sun, the more the knight has fuel to pursue their creative power. And the knight has been holding back a story within them, a story of shame, a story of doubt, a story of heartache that they've been hesitant to express because they're afraid of what the results might be. But the more you let out that story, the more you really step into this fearless identity, and it creates a feedback loop where the knight proves that on the other side of their fear is this tremendous reward, and that encourages them to have less fear in the next goal or ambition. And then overall, nothing too serious is happening. We're here to play, we're here to experiment, we're here to revel in possibility. So it's not a serious, constructive structure that is needed here. It's a sense of openness to possibility and openness to play. So there's no great work, there's no impetus to achieve. It's just this person has lost track of the fun and the joy, and they've been holding this toxic story for too long. So we got to get it out, let in all this joy and positivity, and be fearless in pursuit of freedom. So this is where I would end the reading. So this gives you a sense of how my thought process works, and through all of the study that I've done with tarot. So this is just a little peek into how it goes for me. So I hope this was helpful. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you next time.